Hey guys, Tim here from the Civil Gore Podcast, and welcome to the first of what I hope are many videos on various horror items I have laying around the house that maybe I didn't get a chance to review on the regular show. Our YouTube channel is typically kind of just a repository for our audio episodes, and I thought it might be fun to do some video content and kind of show off some horror vinyl and horror books and horror games and that kind of thing. Stuff that we don't just typically get a chance to talk about on the show, or either we can't show you on the show because it's in audio format. And I also want to give you a little introduction to Civil Gore. So we started the Civil Gore Podcast back in 2017. My co-host Brian and I met at a meetup for a podcast called CoasterRadio.com, which is a theme park podcast that's been around for a long time. And they had a meetup at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And I went up there, I met Brian. We hit it off instantly. And we started talking and kept in touch for the next couple of years and going to different meetups, theme park meetups around the country. And, through those meetups, we kind of learned that we both had a mutual love of horror. We'd always kicked around the idea of doing a podcast, and we always wanted to base that podcast on Coaster Radio and kind of take on that same kind of format of, just two guys and a mic, very casual, very family friendly. And, we didn't necessarily want to do a theme park podcast because that had already been done. Not that a horror podcast hasn't already been done. There's plenty of those out there. But it just seemed like something different from Coaster Radio. And so we decided to give it a shot and do a horror podcast. And we really thought that, maybe a handful of our friends might listen to it. Maybe our mom might listen to it one or two times. And that would be the end of it. We never expected it to kind of blow up or be anything bigger than just something fun, little hobby. And we decided to put out a weekly show just to keep things consistent, because we always read that, to build a podcast, you really just have to have that consistency there. And so that's what we did. And, one show turned into 10 shows, which turned into nearly 300 shows at this point. And over that time, we grew to the point where we started getting interviews with actors and directors and producers and filmmakers and authors and special effects artists and fan film producers, all kinds of people. And it's been so much fun to be able to interview the people behind the movies that we love. That's such a cool thing to be able to do. And the other benefit to it has been just meeting a lot of the people we've met on social media, just friends we've made over the years that we talk to on an almost daily basis. So that's been a lot of fun. So the podcast has really just blown up into something way more than I ever expected. And it's been such a fun ride over the past 5 years or so, and we hope that it'll just keep continuing to grow. There's another reason we kind of wanted to put out some video content. It's something we've never really done, and I thought that might just be something fun to do and something new to learn. I've learned how to edit podcasts. I've never done video editing, so these might be a little rough to start off with. But the only way you learn how to do this stuff is to just do it. So hopefully you guys get some entertainment value out of it. The thing I wanted to talk about today is a series I would like to do on horror on vinyl, horror soundtracks on vinyl. I got into vinyl record collecting a couple of years ago when I got my first turntable, and I wouldn't say it was really collecting at that point. It was very much dabbling in it. I had a couple of albums. I had a David Bowie Greatest Hits album and a Creedence Clearwater Revival Greatest Hits album, and I'd throw those on every now and again and listen to it. Oh, that's neat. It's on a record, haha. And I didn't really think much more about it. I didn't take vinyl collecting seriously at all. Didn't really care. And all that changed about a year ago when we moved into our new house, and I was able to get a decent turntable and hook it up to a decent sound system. It's actually my daughter's turntable, so she'll kill me if I claim it as my own. It's hers. But it's a decent one, and it's hooked to a decent sound system. And that really changed my mind about vinyl because it sounded so good. And I didn't start off with soundtracks either. I actually started off with jazz records because I've found that jazz is a genre of music that really suits itself well to vinyl, because vinyl is really meant to be listened to as albums, not as individual tracks, because it's really hard to get that little needle exactly where you want it to listen to a particular song. So you're kind of committed to listening to the full album side. And jazz is great for that because you just put a jazz album on and set it and forget it and leave it on in the background. So I started collecting jazz records. And that was a lot of fun. I did that for a few months and really didn't think about doing anything with soundtracks. That changed when I went to my local record store and I was going through their clearance bin, and I ran across a couple of James Bond soundtracks for about $3 each. Goldfinger and On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I almost said Goldmember, but that's an Austin Powers movie. So I started listening to those, and it'd be just kind of cool to have them. I like James Bond. And when I put them on, it was just like, it was so cool. It was just neat. I was listening to it in a way I would have never listened to that soundtrack if I just clicked on Spotify and pulled up James Bond soundtrack. It was just a completely different experience. And that really, really got me hooked. So I started looking at what other soundtracks are out there, that might be interesting to me. I used to collect soundtracks when I was younger on CD, so I love movies, so I love soundtracks anyway. So what else is out there? And when I started looking through, I kept running across these really cool horror soundtracks. And I finally started breaking down and buying some. The first one I bought actually was not a horror soundtrack per se. It was kind of adjacent thriller-ish, and that was The Towering Inferno. And I bought that one because it's a John Williams score. I don't really know anything about the movie. I don't think I've ever even seen The Towering Inferno, to be honest. But I put that on, and it was just incredible. It was so much fun to listen to that. So I started picking up horror albums here and there. That's been going on for only a couple months. I'm very new to it, but I absolutely love it, and I see it as something I'll continue to do for some time. Now, I have a cool story about what I'm about to show you. This is not an album. This is a book. I went into my record store. Record Bar here in Wilmington is one of my favorite local record stores. And I was talking to the owner, and I was there actually to pick up a Children of the Corn soundtrack, which is beautiful. I can't wait to show you guys this record. It is amazing. So I went in there to pick that up because I'd ordered it. And the owner was kind of giving me that look like why are you buying this? Like, this is a weird thing to buy in the middle of July, a Children of the Corn soundtrack, really. Most people come in, they buy Adele or Taylor Swift or Metallica or somebody. They don't typically go in there and buy Children of the Corn scores. And I was explaining to him that I ran a horror podcast. I hosted a horror podcast, and he got this weird look on his face, and he reached behind the counter and he pulled out this Blood on Black Wax, horror on vinyl. This is a Rue Morgue. If you guys are familiar with the horror magazine, Rue Morgue publication, and a brand new extended edition, blah, 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 blah. And he pulls this out and he slips it into my bag. And I'm like, are you giving that to me? And he was like, yes, because I have no use for it. So the story goes that he had ordered this thinking that it was part of a set that had, some horror soundtracks with it. And he was going to sell it as like this big box set. Well, it turns out it does not. It was just a book. And he's a record store owner. He has no use to sell books in his shop. Nobody comes into a record store to buy books. So he had this thing sitting behind his counter doing nothing. When he found out I was a horror podcast host, he decided to just give it to me because he knew I would appreciate it. And I absolutely do appreciate it because it's an amazing, amazing book. As you can see, it's got a cool little bookmark ribbon. I love these things. It's got black edges, which is neat. It's got like this kind of embossed cover. It's so cool. And the inside is even cooler. So let me show you. So this book is divided into genres. So it might have a creature feature genre, or it might have a supernatural genre, and then it will list all the movie soundtracks under that genre. So for instance, here's Reanimator, and it's got full color album art on every single page. Full color album art. And underneath, here's Creepshow and Cat's Eye. So it's got facts about the score, and it's not always the same format. Like, it might have an interview with the composer, or it might have some fun trivia about the movie and about the score. But every one of these is so fascinating to read. And you get to see the full album art and when it came out and everything about it. Now, I'm sure a ton of these are out of print and are really hard to find on vinyl. But it's nice to have this as a reference. So if you think of a movie that you might want to check out the score for and see if it was ever on vinyl, it's probably in this book, and you can see the album art and everything. So amazing little reference there. This is Emma the Horror Cat. She's making her first appearance on YouTube. Say hello to Emma. And so this is an amazing book. It retails for $35. I have seen it on Amazon for as low as $25. So if you can ignore the cat tail in your face, I would go check this out on Amazon and pick it up, because if I had known this existed, I would have absolutely picked it up before I was ever given this by the record store owner. Anyway, thank you, Emma. So Emma approves of this book. So yeah, go check this out. Blood on Black Wax. Like I said, I'm going to have more album reviews in the future. We're going to put them right here on this channel. I'm going to go through the album art, the record itself, the track by track impressions, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you guys stick around. If you like what you see, hit the like button, subscribe, and we will see you back here soon.